Welcome back to BoxBox F1 Fantasy with me, Quinton, your in-house data nerd and fantasy tool developer. Coming out next week, stick around for that. If you haven't done so already, please join my fantasy league, see if you can beat me. The link is in the description and the code should be somewhere here on screen now. This video is going to be all about how scoring works in Formula One fantasy. I'll tell you what to avoid, what are some things to keep in mind when selecting constructors especially, and some general tips and tricks and little fine print details you might not have noticed while reading the rules. Speaking of rules, let's get straight into it. Previously, if your driver was disqualified, did not finish, or did not put up a representative time in the sprint race, minus 10 points for them. And then of course this carries over to the constructor as well. Interesting thing here, this qualification in sprint also negatively impacts the constructor by minus 10. So let's say I have Verstappen and Red Bull in my team. Let's say Verstappen crashes out in a sprint race, minus 10 for him. And because I also have Red Bull Racing in there, minus 10 for them as well. Now let's say Verstappen finishes the race, but he gets disqualified for some technical thing. Then the constructor gets minus 10. He doesn't get the minus 10 points, but you get minus 10. I get minus 10 for having Red Bull in my team. This is much better than the minus 20 we had last year. Last year I had some minus 40 points some weekends, and man does it hurt. Hopefully this improves as well for normal races too, please, Formula One fantasy developers. Thank you, that'd be great. Now, starting off with the first points that a driver can score. This goes off of their qualifying position. So we've got our free practice. Free practice does not contribute to scoring per se, but qualifying does. So if the driver finishes in first place, qualifies P1, they get 10 points for qualifying there. And all the way down to 10th place, which only gets you 1 point. Something important to note here is this is the qualifying result and not the starting position. For example, next week, Australia, let's imagine by some miracle Bottas qualifies in 5th place. But because he's got, or let's say 6th place, because he's got a 5-place grid penalty, his starting position would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places behind, 11th. So, but he will still score 5 points for qualifying in 6th place. Doesn't matter where he starts. And that is why Bottas is an early shout for a good pick for next weekend's race. So keep that in mind. And of course, if they don't set any time in qualifying or are disqualified, they have the lap time deleted, their only lap time is deleted, minus 5 points for that. So this counts for every single driver, all 5 of the drivers in your team. And moving on to constructors, they have a few extra bonuses. So the constructors score the combined totals of their 2 drivers in qualifying, as listed above, and the same goes for the race as well. Let's take an example. Let's imagine here that, if you just load up here. Now let's imagine Charles Leclerc and Hamilton each score, let's say they score 10 and 9 points respectively. So for qualifying, because I have Ferrari in as well, we'll take Leclerc's 10 points, Hamilton's 9 points, and that will give me Ferrari score of 19 just for qualifying. And then of course I also get Leclerc's individual 10 points for qualifying in first place. Now, because both drivers reached Q3, theoretically Charles Leclerc and Hamilton reached Q3, they get an additional 10 points. So the 19 points becomes 29. If only Leclerc reached Q3, that would be 24 points. See where I'm going? So when we are choosing our fantasy teams. It's good to have a spread of different teams and not necessarily like double up on both drivers and the constructor here as well. It's good to diversify your team like I've done here. For example, I've got Verstappen here, but I've got Mercedes and Haas drivers here, even though I don't have any Mercedes drivers in here. Now here I have exposure to Verstappen, Hadjar, so I've got basically 2 Red Bull assets, but I'm still getting any points that George Russell and Kimi Antonelli scores. And if they both qualify in the top 10, I get another bonus because both drivers reached Q3. So it's a fine balance of choosing drivers from a constructor, putting them in your team and putting the constructor in there as well. It all depends on how conservatively you want to play or how risky. Do you want to put all your eggs in one basket, or do you want to spread them out over a few baskets? Now, sprint race. Sprint results are important, but not as important as qualifying per se. So we don't get points for sprint qualifying, but we do get points for sprint results up to 8th place. And the same thing goes here for constructors, like constructors score combined total of 2 drivers in the sprints. And if the driver is disqualified, minus 10 points per driver disqualified. That comes back to what I mentioned up here, that DNF disqualify in sprints have been reduced to minus 10 points only. Still with me? If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Now, a tricky thing to calculate or predict is positions gained. During the race, let's imagine our driver starts in 10th place and they finish in 5th place. So that means they gained 5 positions. And the same goes for positions lost. If they start in 5th and in 10th, that's minus 5 points. Now let's stick with gaining 5 positions. Let's say you're Charles Leclerc, you spun out on your qualifying lap and you qualified in 10th position. But because you've got such a fantastic turbo, you overtake everybody by turn 1. You make 10 overtakes and you gained 10 positions. So that's 10 positions gained and 10 overtakes made. Now, this overtakes made is a little fuzzy, but it says here that overtakes are considered valid, or they count, when one driver legally passes another on track, and this was not when they were going into pits, or they were going unreasonably slow, or they have some kind of mechanical issue, blah, blah, blah. So let's say Leclerc starts in 10th position, 2 cars ahead of him stop with a mechanical. Those 2 positions gained won't count for overtakes, but they will count as positions gained. It's a little confusing, but that's why I'm here. Now, it seems there's been some discrepancy in how we seem to calculate it, like the data analysts. We can't seem to come onto an exact definition of how, or we haven't figured out completely how the FIA count an overtake as being made or not. Like, if Leclerc passes Hamilton, but Hamilton let him pass, does that count as an overtake or not? And what if it gets repassed again? Let's say Charles Leclerc and Hamilton are big fantasy players, and they just pass, let each other pass again, and just like switch places back and forth to rank up many overtake points. I don't think that's how it works, but if someone knows a bit better how this overtakes made works, please let me know. I'd love to know, because I want to integrate that into my Formula 1 Fantasy prediction tool coming live next week. So please, that will help me out a lot. And then we've got our probably most contentious 2 little snafus with scoring. Fastest lap and driver of the day. Now, fastest lap goes to whoever sits the fastest lap in the course of the race. This is a bit high for this, and this can literally go to anyone, so don't plan your team around who you think is going to get fastest lap. I mean, any team can just chuck on some softs on the last 3 laps, put you in fastest lap, and just go for it. So don't think too much about fastest lap when choosing your team. However, with driver of the day, things are a bit different. Usually the chances of a driver getting driver of the day award are significantly higher when it's their home race. So keep that in mind. When we go racing somewhere that the driver is very popular, chances are if they drive a half decent race, they might get driver of the day. Easy 10 points. Now, these 10 points for driver of the day don't get added to the constructor scoring. Let's go to for example, Charles Leclerc example again. Let's say he's in Monaco. He wins the Monaco Grand Prix. Oh, it's the best driver of the day. He gets the extra 10 points. So he wins the race, 25 points. Qualified P1 plus 10 points. So 35 points already. And driver of the day. Oh, fantastic, 45 points. But the constructor Ferrari will only get 35 points contributed from Leclerc, not 45. So something to keep in mind as well. And then of course we've got points all the way down to 10th place. And 11th to 22nd place, typos, 0 points. So please don't put Aston Martin in your teams for the love of everything that's racy and makes the engine sound. Thank you. Now, very interesting thing here are pit stop times. If a team makes a pit stop between 2.5 and 2.99 seconds, they get 2 points for that. Between 2.2 and 2.499 seconds, 5 points, and so on. And like the fastest pit stop of any race, regardless of if it's within these times or not, gets 5 points. This is a thing that McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull are particularly good at. Someone who is very good at pit stops is Perez. From his time at Red Bull, he set some of the fastest pit stop times because he stops dead on his mark. So keep an eye out for Perez's pit stop times, and maybe he's someone you want to chuck in there. Or Cadillac, if they start to pick up some form, maybe they are a budget enabling team to consider, perhaps. And if by some reason there is a world record pit stop time set, 15 extra points for that constructor. So this scoring is for constructor only, doesn't go to the individual driver. Now, the most important thing to remember about scoring are your free transfers. Plan your transfers ahead of time, so don't leave yourself stuck in a position where you need to change out more than 2 drivers and you don't have a free transfer carried over from the last week. By default, you've got 2 free transfers to do each week. If you only use 1, your extra transfer gets carried over to next week, and you can choose up to 3 free transfers. But that's it. More than that, you get a negative 10 points per each additional transfer. So when planning your team, don't just look at the upcoming week. Look at the week after and the week after that. If you know, for example, that a team is going to bring some upgrades in Bahrain, leave yourself with 3 transfers after Japan. Leave yourself some room to wiggle around, make some adjustments, and use as few transfers as possible. Save them, because you never know when you might need them. With these new regulations, a team might need to change a power unit. A team might not be able to even start a race. So it's very important to have your free transfers available as much as possible. And that about covers all the scoring details and terms and conditions. If you have a question about the scoring, please let me know in the comments below, or follow me on Twitter. Be sure to send me a message there, just at BoxBoxF1 Fantasy. And thank you for watching. Once again, I kindly invite you to join my fantasy league, see if you can beat me and my friends, and I'll see you next time. Tomorrow's video will be all about budget building and what to keep in mind when planning your first budget building pick, or choosing your first team for Melbourne next week. It's an important one, and remember, I'll just give you a sneak peek in advance. The number one thing to remember is you don't necessarily want to pick the team that are going to score the most points. And to quote some famous car presenter, on that bombshell, we'll finish this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, show me you liked it. Yeah, click that button down there. Yeah, and subscribe while you're at it. Much appreciated. See you all tomorrow, same place, same time. Thanks for watching. This was Quentin from BoxBox F1 Fantasy. See you next time.